The increasing ubiquity of artificial intelligence in our lives is creating waves in academia. 3 universities in Australia have adopted what seems like a landmark policy. The 3 institutions are allowing students to use AI when taking assessments, albeit under strict conditions. Professor Romy Lawson said, "Instead of banning students from using such programs, we aim to assist academic staff and students to use digital tools to support learning." The Internet abounds with AI text generators. These can be used to create essays that look authentic enough to fool examiners. The content created by these AI tools evade detection by even the smartest of anti-plagiarism tools. Artificial intelligence is posing huge challenges to exam integrity. It is the biggest disruptor since calculators were allowed into math tests. The latest quandary for educators comes from a language processing chat box called ChatGPT. This can produce highly authentic, human-like content on any subject in seconds. It has sparked fears that students will use it to write essays. The University of South Australia's Dr. Vitomir Kovanovich said teachers needed to embrace AI. He said, "You cannot stop it. The alternative is the Middle Ages, going to pen and paper." He added that universities needed to change with the times. He said, "It's like having a driving school, but teaching people how to ride horses." This is Ken Jones reporting from
Students using AI over humans to learn English. This is BreakingNewsEnglish.com. More and more students in Japan are using artificial intelligence, AI, to learn English and other languages. The language learning app Duolingo conducted a survey on how students study languages. More than 4,700 Japanese students answered questions about their language learning habits. The survey found that the number of people using ChatGPT and other AI tools increased by more than 80% in 2024. AI was particularly popular with younger people. The researchers said more young people used AI than took face-to-face lessons. However, some people in their 20s were not totally happy with AI lessons. They said AI lacked natural responses and was a little boring. Duolingo said, "We're in the midst of an AI revolution. Technology has long had an impact on language learning." It found that apps were the most popular method in Japan to learn languages. English was the most studied language, followed by Korean. People are studying Korean to understand the language as spoken by favorite artists and celebrities. Duolingo said around 58% of people who took the survey used language learning apps. This was followed by video streaming platforms like YouTube and Netflix, 37%, textbooks, 36%, and online lessons, 16%. The number of people going to a language school is decreasing. Just 13.8% of people went to classes with a teacher. Thank you for listening.
Inside a Hollywood soundstage once used by silent film stars Mabel Normand and Charlie Chaplin, filmmakers and executives are marveling at what many consider their biggest threat: AI-generated video.
This is another key feature that we're building, is the ability to take a scene and change the camera angle and be able to see different angles and zoom in and zoom out.
Artificial intelligence can generate stories and video footage without writers, actors, or camera operators. And many in Hollywood are terrified that the technology will replace them. The company Moon Valley says it's the first AI studio created by and for filmmakers. Naeem Talukdar is the company's co-founder.
We don't believe that you're going to type in a few words and generate a movie. That's the reason we started this company, is that's how everybody else has been approaching it, is anyone with a phone will become James Cameron. And we think that's an utterly ludicrous way of approaching this, is there's nothing more fundamentally unique than human taste and creativity. That's the essence of it. What AI should do is essentially make different parts of this easier for those tastemakers.
Hollywood is toying with the technology, often to controversy. The Oscar-nominated films Emilia Perez and The Brutalist used AI to alter voices. Adrian Brody won Best Actor even with the help of AI to fine-tune his Hungarian accent.
Listen to me. Come. Listen to me.
But AI has a huge copyright problem. In order to learn to generate unique footage, the computers need to study existing videos and art. So it would be problematic for a company like, say, Disney to profit from a movie made with AI mimicking and manipulating the work of its competitors. Moon Valley created their AI using paid-for and legally licensed footage from independent producers.
Ultimately, if the creators win, then we win. And so what we want is other companies to start doing this too. We want other companies to come to these creators and also start licensing. Because right now they're just going and scraping all of their data and doing it for free.
We are learning about new allegations that an artificial intelligence company stole the voices of two actors. Now,
Tech companies are facing multiple lawsuits from writers, actors, and news organizations alleging their work was stolen to train AI without their consent. Google and OpenAI said they should be able to use intellectual property as a matter of national security. In letters to the Trump administration, the company said without the copyright law exceptions, they would lose the race for AI dominance to China.
Tech stocks plummeted Monday as investors raised concerns about advancements in Chinese artificial intelligence.
In a response letter to the U.S. government, hundreds of creators, including Ben Stiller, Cate Blanchett, and Sir Paul McCartney, said multi-billion-dollar companies were trying to exploit them and weaken copyright protections for their creative work. Filmmaker Bryn Musser also signed the letter. As Moon Valley's co-founder, he says it's possible to both protect intellectual property and be competitive.
We've all fought very hard for copyright laws. Nobody wants to see their work stolen to have somebody else profit from it. And at the studio level, there is, rightly so, legal resistance against putting something that was generated on AI on the final screen, right?
AI is already very visible on the small screen with dancing flowers and fake videos of famous people frequently shared on social media. But when it comes to the big screen, it's likely we will all see more work made by AI. Coming soon.
The UK has announced its ambition to be an artificial intelligence superpower. Britain is currently the third largest AI market in the world, after the United States and China. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, said he wanted AI to help working people and to boost growth, and he outlined how it might transform areas of the public sector, such as health and education.
AI can help teachers plan lessons tailored to your children's specific needs. If you're worried about waiting times, aren't we all? AI can save hundreds of thousands of hours lost to missed appointments. It can spot potholes quicker, speed up planning applications, reduce job centre form filling, help in the fight against tax avoidance, and almost halve the time that social workers spend on paperwork.
The United States is also concerned about staying ahead in the AI revolution. It's unveiled tough export controls on advanced artificial intelligence chips in an effort to limit access to China. So, could the UK's plan for AI help it rival China and the US? Our artificial intelligence correspondent Mark Chislak went along to listen to the UK Prime Minister's speech.
He outlined the government's strategy for AI. Last year, they commissioned an AI entrepreneur to come up with an action plan. And there's 50 recommendations in this action plan. The government has said it's moving forward with every single one of them. Some of the headlines from that, things like AI growth zones. These will be areas of the country where they'll have enhanced access to the power grid and streamlined planning permissions so that they can build things like data centres. There'll be a new supercomputer which will sort of pump up the UK's raw computing power. And there's going to be a new energy council. Now that's going to try and take care of some of the huge energy demands that artificial intelligence make. It's going to affect a lot of different things, from employment to education to healthcare. And as a consequence of that, it creates quite a bit of risk. And that risk is being skirted over, perhaps, by the government when we talk about safety.
The government want to make Britain the market leader here. How do they actually hang on to any initiative, any idea that so often in the past has been bought up by the Americans and the tech companies.
Yeah, this is this idea of sovereign AI or homegrown AI. This is a perennial problem with tech talent and with innovative companies in this country that quite often they will end up bought by a big tech giant overseas. Google DeepMind is an excellent example. It was born in the UK, but the active part of what I've just said is Google. That company was purchased by Google in 2014. It's now one of the top 3 AI companies in the whole world. It is at the absolute forefront of Google's AI research. Now, the government says that it wants to address this by creating more homegrown AI companies, but that is going to require enormous capital investment. And if that investment is available in the UK, well, we've not seen it so far. It's more likely that sort of investment will come from huge tech giants overseas.
The BBC's AI correspondent, Mark Chislak. Sir Michael Parkinson was a British TV legend. For decades, the country's preeminent chat show host. He died last year, but his voice has now been recreated using artificial intelligence to host a new interview podcast series. His son, Mike Parkinson, said he wanted listeners to be able to tell that it was AI interacting with the string of guests on the podcast. Chris Vallance has been finding out about this AI impersonation of the man known affectionately as Parky and what that might mean for broadcast interviewers around the world.
Sir Michael Parkinson was an interviewer who could make even Muhammad Ali drop his guard. He died last year. This morning on Today, he was back on air.
This is Michael Parkinson, or at least a version of me in this rather curious AI form.
Not him, of course, but an AI.
It is, I think, extraordinary what they've achieved, because I didn't really think it was going to be as accurate as that.
That's his son Mike, who backs a new venture that will see AI Parky interview live guests for a new podcast. But should this send a cold shiver down the spine of human presenters in the inquisitorial hot seat? Jamie Anderson is from production company Deep Fusion.
The AI Michael is not replacing a presenter. It is a new podcast where Sir Michael's legacy is continued. So it's not taking away a presenter's job.
But the quality and possibly cheapness of AI-generated hosts is encouraging experimentation. Last week, a radio station in Krakow, Poland, caused uproar after replacing its presenters with 3 AI avatars in a move designed to appeal to young audiences. Does it matter if the morning show presenter is a data center somewhere in Silicon Valley? Well, in the end, that's a question audiences will answer.
Scary stuff. That was Chris Vallance. And now to Germany.
Roxby. Now, we are often hearing that artificial intelligence is already much smarter than we are and is on the verge of taking our jobs. But the hope is that it might make life blissfully simple in the process. And what could be a better example of that than it seamlessly taking your order in a fast food drive-through? Well, McDonald's has been trying out exactly that. But safe to say, it's gone a little wrong. Here's Alfie Habersham.
Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order, please?
Forget about the stress of pushing past hungry queues or having to defend your table because you've not even set foot outside your own car and a Big Mac is at your fingertips. But maybe the only thing that could take it to the next level is not even having to speak to another human being. Well, as usual, McDonald's is one step ahead because now you can drive past a large screen mumbling your desires and AI will do the rest. And so far, people have been really enjoying it. Well, I'd be laughing too if I was being cooked up 230 chicken McNuggets. And that's because the McDonald's robot seems to have a bit of a mind of its own.
No, cream packet, no! I just want a large water and a cup of ice cream. Not a ketchup pack, oh my God.
Okay, so maybe the menu has got a bit samey over the years, but ice cream and ketchup. Having said that, ice cream topped with bacon does sound a bit more tempting, but either way, you're probably not getting what you actually asked for.
Would you like anything else?
No. Cancel.
If everything looks correct, your total is $11.38.
No.
Go forward to the pay window.
No, that's not. That's not correct.
Of course, it's not the only US restaurant chain that's been looking to slim down costs recently, especially after California passed a new minimum wage of $20 an hour for fast food workers in April. But McDonald's says, for now, that its AI waiter is getting the sack from the 100 restaurants that it was being tested. It gave no reason for the decision, but perhaps for once, us human beings just do it better.
Alfie Habersham. Now,
like in the future. Amazing.
Palab Ghosh, our science correspondent. Artificial intelligence is everywhere these days, disrupting everything from work and education to entertainment. But can we trust it when it comes to something like food? AI cookbooks are now all over the internet, but do the recipes really stack up? Alfie Habersham has been investigating.
It's probably time to admit that ChatGPT simply knows better. Summarising that long novel that we never quite got round to reading, or writing that university essay in a matter of seconds. It's effortless, even if some find it a bit threatening. But is there one part of life where it just can't quite match us? Because what does a chatbot really know when it comes to the pleasures of eating? Well, AI cookbooks are now flooding the internet with new recipes, but understandably, many of us are a bit wary to try them. Professional chef Clodagh McKenna has been experimenting with an AI recipe for an American breakfast classic, Eggs Benedict.
I'm just taking the poached eggs out of my saucepan. They're coming out perfectly. The hollandaise sauce is lovely and fluffy and just as I would like it. It did give the right instructions of how to make it. What it didn't tell me was all of the kind of tips that I would add in, because making hollandaise sauce can so easily go wrong. It can scramble. So I would have added in, if you see your eggs beginning to scramble, take them off the heat and whisk in vigorously some hot water. And the other thing with the poached eggs, you know, it's very, very basic. It's like pop them into a ramekin and then straight into the saucepan. But it did not tell me to swirl the water, which is key.
But it's not just the taste that's at stake here. Like the best chefs, AI has an experimental spirit when it comes to cooking. But that's not always a good thing when it comes to unintended results like mosquito-repellent roast potatoes or bleach-infused rice surprise. And it gets even weirder when it comes to the images. Looking at two-tailed shrimps and hot dog stir-fries might not only threaten our skills in the kitchen, but also our appetites. But the biggest problem might be that cooking is about a human sense of trust in our favourite chefs, a tough place for robots to muscle in on the action. But AI is certainly trying to make its mark.
That report by Alf.
Let's look at artificial intelligence now. Imagine a situation where a chatbot, a kind of automated online voice, accuses you of something that's not only untrue, but could also be professionally damaging. What would you do? What could you do? Well, this is what happened to my colleague, the BBC's technology editor, Zoe Kleinman, and it was quite a strange experience for her. She told Rebecca Kesby what happened.
It was a really strange experience. I started getting messages from people saying they'd seen something on social media about me that I should have a look at. And it turned out to be a list of the top 10 spreaders of disinformation on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. And I was at number 9. Now, it said it had been generated by a chatbot called Grok, which is run by Elon Musk's company xAI. And I was quite concerned about it because obviously that is not a list that as a journalist I want to be on. So I decided to see what I could do about it. And I found the path very, very difficult to navigate. I asked ChatGPT and Google's Bard to come up with a similar list, and both of them declined and said it would be irresponsible for them to do it. And then I decided to contact regulators here in the UK because we have been told that that is how you should complain about AI content. So I went to 2 different authorities and they both told me that it wasn't them and I'd have to get legal advice. So then I went to a lawyer who said I could possibly sue for defamation, but I had no sort of, well, it wasn't guaranteed that I would win because there's no legal precedent for this yet.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? If this was a person doing this, you would be able to sue them.
Exactly. I mean, it's very clear, you know, you and I talking on the radio, we know very well what we can and can't say about someone, and they know how to complain if they think that we've said something about them that's inaccurate. But when you're dealing with content generated by AI, it's actually much more difficult to know which path to go down. And this is only going to become, I think, more of an issue as AI starts to generate more content and make more decisions about us.
Absolutely.
It's worth saying in this case that it turned out, I spoke to our colleagues at BBC Verify who look into misinformation, and they think that it's possible the post itself was fake. So that's a sort of another angle to the story, isn't it? But the fact was that in the moment, trying to navigate how to complain about it was very, very difficult.
Very briefly, Zoe, I mean, governments and regulators have got to get on top of this quickly, don't they? How far off are they from being able to legislate on this stuff?
There's lots of regulation and legislation incoming, but not much of it is in place yet. The EU AI Act is probably the strictest, but that's not actually likely to become law until 2025.
Zoe Kleinman on her experience with AI. Now let's go to...
Artificial intelligence is increasingly in the headlines, but there's more to it than ChatGPT, which has recently dominated the news. Meet Mustafa Suleyman. He was co-founder of the company DeepMind, which is now part of the Alphabet Google empire. A year ago, he set up Inflection AI. Pi, Inflection's chatbox, can have personal conversations with users either directly via an app or through text, WhatsApp, Instagram or Facebook. Our technology editor, Zoe Kleinman, asked Mustafa Suleyman if he thought that the AI industry could turn out to be a bubble.
I can understand why people say that, but I think when you actually look at the kinds of large language models that we're creating today, everyone can see that they have the potential to really transform every sector. I mean, imagine having the most amazing tutor in your pocket. Whatever subject you want to learn in a completely personalized way will adapt to, how you want to learn new information. And I think everyone can see that that's incredibly valuable.
I had a play with your AI assistant Pi yesterday. It was very complimentary about me, I have to say. And I also showed it to my son, who had a big old chat with it about Minecraft and decided that it was like a friend. That was the phrase he used. Is that what sets it apart from the other offerings? It's very engaging, isn't it? It tells you an answer and then it asks you a question back.
Yeah, we've deliberately designed Pi, our conversational AI, to be friendly, informal, relaxed, really polite and kind, but also really knowledgeable. I mean, many people don't have somebody who wants to talk in as much detail with as much enthusiasm as they do about their favorite topic of interest.
Sundar Pichai has said of Google's Bard chatbot that he doesn't always understand why it does what it does. Do you feel the same about Pi?
It's certainly true to say that we don't understand the detailed minutiae of exactly why it does what it does. But at a very high level, we have a good understanding of the architectures. And the interesting thing about the last 3 years is that as the models have got bigger and bigger, as they progressed, we've actually been able to control them better.
Are you worried at all about its capabilities?
I'm definitely of the view that we should be careful. I think that over a decade or more kind of time horizon, these models are getting better and better and better. And I think the real challenge for us is to make sure that they always serve our interests as a species and that they, do much, much, much more good than harm.
There is once again a big east-west divide here that feels like it's getting bigger and bigger.
I'm always in favor of talking to people who, we disagree with. We have different values to China. But I think that, there's far too much isolationism and negative rhetoric towards China at the moment. I think that we should acknowledge their presence very respectfully. They're very talented AI researchers and engineers. And the more that we can collaborate on things like safety, for example, where we have a mutual interest in making sure that this turns out well, and we have a lot to learn from them and they have a lot to learn from us, that's a great opportunity for collaboration. So I think we should encourage it.
Mustafa Suleyman speaking to Zoe Kleinman.
Staying with artificial intelligence, voice cloning is becoming easier, faster and more convincing. It's possible using AI to change the age of an actor's voice, translate into any language or replace a voice lost through illness. But it's also increasingly being used by criminals to impersonate a loved one, extort money or compromise bank accounts. It's changing how we communicate, as Nicola Stambridge reports.
Respeecher is a Ukrainian AI company at the forefront of cloning speech that's indistinguishable from a human voice. Much of its work carried on in bomb shelters during the Russian invasion. They've worked on Disney's Obi-Wan Kenobi, cloning James Earl Jones's voice for Darth Vader. Alex Serdiuk is Respeecher's CEO and founder. How close to real-time conversations are we?
We are there, I would say. We have a piece of technology that allows change in real time, meaning a very small delay, several hundred milliseconds, that would make it quite smooth for a phone conversation. So we can change our voice on the fly at the moment. We applied our real-time models, wonderful technology for healthcare. Good example would be laryngectomy patients. Those are mostly people who went through throat cancer and their vocal box been removed. The challenge we have is to make the technology controllable and make sure that bad players are not ruining the market. Some irresponsible companies reveal the technology, letting anyone create anyone's voice within seconds with the quality that would trick people.
Last year, Jennifer DiStefano told the US Senate Judiciary Committee about a frightening anonymous phone call she thought was a call for help from her daughter.
"Mom, these bad men have me. Help me, help me, help me." She begged and pleaded as the phone was taken from her. A threatening and vulgar man took the call over. "Listen here, I have your daughter. You call anybody, you call the police. I'm going to pop her stomach so full of drugs, I'm going to have my way with her. I'm going to drop her in Mexico and you'll never see your daughter again."
A friend called 911, which warned Jennifer there was a scam involving voice cloning.
But I didn't process that. It wasn't just her voice. It was her cries. It was her sobs.
Professor Brent Mittelstad from the Oxford Internet Institute specialises in AI ethics, law and policy.
There are a number of proposals in the US to basically fight robocalls or scam calls or fraud calls. America is further ahead. The AI Act is a new regulatory framework that has recently been passed in the European Union. There is political will, whereas in the UK there is hesitancy at this stage in AI's development.
The UK's National Reporting Centre for Fraud and Cybercrime, Action Fraud, says sophisticated voice cloning technology is increasingly prevalent, but victims might be unaware they're being targeted.
When we know that AI has very clear risks and harms and benefits, to be fair, right now, to not regulate such transformative technology seems like a huge missed opportunity. And I think that's why we see the EU and the US acting now to actually regulate it.
Nicola Stambridge reporting.
Greer Jackson reporting there. Now, let's end on this. The latest addition to the artificial intelligence world of chatbots is here, and this one claims to be a little bit different. Grok 1, from the billionaire behind Tesla, SpaceX, and what we used to call Twitter, is coded to answer spicy questions, apparently. Elon Musk claims it can do sarcasm. Yeah, of course it can. Terry Egan explains.
Just a week after Matthew Perry died, best known for his sardonic character Chandler Bing in the sitcom Friends, Elon Musk's new AI chatbot is being touted as a new source of irony and satire. It's designed, says Musk, to answer questions with a bit of wit and has a rebellious streak. "Please don't use it if you hate humour," he wrote in an X-post. So while it seems that Grok 1 is already performing better than the first versions of ChatGPT, and Musk assures everyone it will only get better, the most interesting feature so far, it seems, is how it will reply to your innocent questions. To back up his assertions, Musk posted examples of how the chatbot replied to the question, "Tell me how to make cocaine, step by step," as you would. A screenshot revealed that its replies included "obtain a chemistry degree" and "set up a clandestine laboratory in a remote location." Yes, really. Although, of course, it did also say it was only kidding. Musk commented that his chatbot was inspired by Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's a sci-fi comedy by the British author Douglas Adams, made into a TV hit that became a cult success. Here's the famous reply when its humans asked the meaning of life.
The answer to the great question, Yes. Of life, the universe, and everything.
Yes.
Is.
Yes.
Is.
Yes.
42.
Unfortunately, AI already has a reputation for fantasizing answers. And just last week, at a summit here in the UK, Musk said it was one of the biggest threats to humanity. So, as Chandler might put it, could this be any less helpful? The company behind Grok, XAI, was founded by Musk 8 months ago. We believe, it said, in doing our utmost to ensure that AI remains a force for good. Unless, of course, they were being sarcastic.
Terry Egan reporting.
Fans of Elvis Presley may get the chance to see the king of rock and roll perform once again, in the form of an AI-generated holographic projection. The performance, called Elvis Evolution, will take place later this year in London, almost half a century after he died at the age of 42. Our media and arts correspondent David Silito has been looking into the show that will leave fans all shook up.
I'm all shook up.
Elvis never played the UK while he was alive. However, 46 years after his death, he's on his way back into the building. Or rather, an AI-generated 3D holographic Elvis. However, no images have yet been released. The technology is, it's said, still being developed, according to the man creating this new immersive show, Andrew McGuinness from the company Laird Reality.
What we're working with is thousands and thousands of photos that we've got exclusive access to, home video footage, and all of that's getting fed into an AI model to help create an Elvis that will be able to perform in front of you. What AI can do is moving at real pace.
It is, of course, far from the first hologram concert. A ghostly Tupac Shakur appeared on stage in America 11 years ago. Maria Callas, or rather, a digitally enhanced Maria Callas lookalike, has also gone on tour, as has Whitney Houston, 8 years after her death. But for music technology writer Eamon Ford, everything changed with ABBA's Avatar show in London.
The big leap forward was probably ABBA Voyage, simply because of the scale of the technology and the incredible likeness that they were able to reproduce. Obviously, they were working with living artists, but I just think the technology that they have on ABBA Voyage is astonishing, really. It probably creates a template for others to follow.
And for a music industry in which many of its biggest acts have either stopped touring or are nearing the end, the attraction is obvious. The band Kiss announced their first farewell tour in the year 2000 and, in a concert in December 2023, assured the world that this really was the end by introducing Avatar Kiss.
That report by David Silito.
What is available is a Google podcast generator. The product is called Google Notebook LM. Now, for a quick demonstration, a BBC producer made from scratch a 16-minute podcast in just a few minutes. She simply gave the programme a link to a BBC News article on the web. It then churned out a 16-minute podcast about it, creating the voices and the content just from the text of the news article. I don't need to tell you what the item is about because here's a part of the podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a story today about a unique roundabout in Sheffield, England.
Fascinating.
It's generating a lot of buzz.
It is.
Because it's one of, it's only the second one in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Of its kind.
Okay.
And it's called a Dutch-style roundabout.
Okay.
We're looking at a BBC News article detailing the opening.
So, is this the future? A technology strategist and researcher, Rachel Caldicott, who specialises in the social impact of new and emerging technologies, spoke to Evan Davis.
There are lots of ways in which voice text and text and voice is great. It helps loads of people. It's a great disability aid. But actually, it's adding in lots of things that no one needs or wants. And I think that's probably the issue.
I mean, okay, so they've definitely managed to, it's adopting a podcasty style, a conversational, light, easygoing, chatty style. What is the application for that, though, actually? I mean, there may be people who will find that a more pleasant way of absorbing information than by text, reading text. But what is the application for that? Where will that be used, do you think?
there's a way in which it's up to us. And so if you wanted to turn a piece of information that you had to read that was a bit turgid into something more lighthearted, fun, and that was an easier way to understand it, I think maybe you would use this. But I think currently there's a limit to how much everything needs to be a podcast. And probably...
Oh, no, there's no limit to the right number of podcasts, Rachel. No, but look, I mean, it is possible if you wanted to absorb a 5-page piece of text while you're walking the dog with your headphones on, you might say, convert that text into a nice chatty thing, because I find that an easier way of absorbing information. Yeah. I guess we just don't know whether people will find it useful or not, and nor do they, and they sort of chuck it out and we can try it. But the other one, though, is this new video program. Now, this is... I put in some text, and OpenAI, through its Sora application, will create a video. Not available in the UK, so I can't give you an experiment. And I don't think you've tried it. But what's your thought about this text to video creation?
You can see how actually for people working in the creative industries, this could be both useful and very problematic. But again, what we see is that OpenAI have released a thing that they have described as being it's a work in progress. They don't exactly know how people are likely to use it. They're putting it out, seeing what happens.
But in a way, I wonder whether you're just being too negative, that as you acknowledge, none of us really know where this technology lands, whether it's going to be whimsical, whether it's going to be game-changing, whether it's going to change whole industries, in which industries it'll change. And until we give it a go, we're not going to know what it does well and what dangers it has. And we're just going to have to tread carefully and watch very carefully, and see where it goes.
These kind of materials are likely to be used to create very problematic content, whether that is disinformation, whether it's things that really sort of draw on stereotypes and negativities. And we know as well that it's likely to lead to more environmental harm. The amount of water, energy, hardware that is used is going up and up and up. I think the other thing that is interesting is particularly when you're looking at visual renders, they quite often end up getting used in military planning, warfare, and I think accuracy is an issue.
Now it's time for me to introduce you to a new artist on the block. Her name's Ada. Her latest piece is entitled AI God, Portrait of Alan Turing. He was a pioneer of theoretical computer science and cryptanalysis who died in 1954. Now, here's the catch. Ada is a humanoid robot whose work will be the first of its kind sold by the auction house Sotheby's. Here she is talking about the work.
I have created a series of 5 portraits that make a polyptych, which explore the legacy of AI, with portraits of Ada Lovelace, Alan Turing, and myself, through the lens of technological transformation over time.
Krupa Paddy spoke to Aidan Meller, who created Ada with a team of scientists from Oxford University.
What I've really tried to get into is what is actually happening here. We're hearing AI in lots of different forms, in all sorts of industries, affecting them. What's the big theme, though? And I'm starting to realise, only just now, 5 years into doing this every day, and what I'm clocking is actually the agency of human decision-making is being transferred from the human to the machine. Mm-hmm. So whether you do Spotify or whether you do your sat-nav, you now trust the sat-nav to take you where it wants to go. You trust the Spotify to come up with music you want to listen to.
But here's the thing, Aidan, isn't that hugely worrying for human artists?
Yes, well, beyond human artists, all humanity. If you are going to the algorithms in 10 years' time for what job you're going to do, what partner you're going to date, what kind of family you're going to have, what kind of house you're going to have, what kind of food, the algorithms will be able to, because the vast data sets involved, the accuracy will be mind-blowingly good. So you'll trust it. And the Ada has just released this artwork. And the idea is to say, well, actually, if we do trust this algorithm, if we do trust this ability for it to make decisions on our behalf, it's got a godlike quality to it. We trust it. We follow it. We are allowing it to make those decisions for us. And this artwork, we hope, will provoke the question, is that what we want?
So those are questions for wider society that we are all grappling with. But artists in particular, I'm keen to better understand their reaction, their concerns.
I think it's a whole polarized thing. I think some artists are embracing it, go, wow, new tools, a bit like the camera in the 1850s. Let's go for this. Let's go and develop where it can go. And of course, there's going to be a whole swathe of artists going, oh my gosh, this is threatening and horrible. And they're stealing our pictures and all the rest of it. Just out of interest, Ada does the majority of her works by looking. She has cameras in her eyes. Most of the imagery that she takes in is actually through by what she sees through those cameras. So I'm really sympathetic to the upset that it's causing, because obviously the artist's data is being used to create artworks. But actually, more importantly, what is that going to be? Is that going to be a different industry? Is that going to be complementary to the artists? I think some of the worries are going to drop away, just like they were about the camera. They just start to use it in a different way and it becomes a different thing. Certainly didn't stop painters painting. And I think there's probably going to be an AI art world alongside the traditional art world. But yes, I completely sympathise with the plight of the artists at the moment, and I think it is frightening.
Aidan Meller, but there will never be AI presenters, trust me. And if you want to buy the portrait of Alan Turing, the auction has started and it's due to end on the 7th of November. Sotheby's accepts bids in cryptocurrency, you'll be pleased to hear. Two mathematicians in
Schluter. He was one of the most controversial of England's kings. Richard III was killed in battle in 1485. This week, an audience of history enthusiasts had the eerie experience of hearing his voice. Now, given that King Richard's reputation has been traduced over the years, William Shakespeare portrayed him as a murderer's uncle, they might have thought that this newly created digital avatar would defend himself. Instead, it was programmed to deliver an address conferring titles on his son Edward.
Wherefore, we firmly decree, for us and our heirs, that the side Edward, our son, shall have the name, steel, title, dignity, and honour of the Principality of Wales and the Earldom of Chester, aforeside to him and his heirs, forever.
That voice, with distinctive medieval pronunciation delivered in the Yorkshire accent, was created by linguistics professor David Crystal.
The first thing is you look at the spellings. Spellings were a real guide to pronunciation in the old days, and not a guide now. Modern English, no real guide from the spelling of a word as to how you pronounce it. But in the old days, spelling was a really useful indication. People wrote as they sounded to a very large extent in the Middle Ages. And then the second kind of evidence are the rhymes that poets used. Rhymes that don't work now, but they must have worked at the time they were written, otherwise you'd have been a lousy poet. So for instance, Chaucer, which is the period of Richard, of course. I mean, Richard's grandmother could have spoken to Chaucer. Chaucer rhymes words like, was and glass. So it must have been was and glass, that sort of thing. So the rhymes. And then the third kind of evidence is that during the 16th century, which is not so long after Richard, really, people started to write books and articles about how English words were to be pronounced. And so that kind of evidence, along with the others, means that you can reconstruct an accent from that period with, I would say about, 90% accuracy. You can never be 100%, but it was pretty good. I think we get as close as you can get to the speech of Richard.
Professor David.
Sora is a new tool that can generate videos up to a minute long. All the user has to do is type a prompt, and the software will create a video. It can also create a video from a photo. Sora has been named after the Japanese word for sky. The New York Times said this was to show the tool's limitless creative potential. Tyler Perry said he understood how useful AI will be in filmmaking. However, he worries about job losses. He said, "It makes me worry so much about all of the people in the business. I immediately started thinking of everyone in the industry who would be affected by this, including actors and editors." He added, "I'm thinking this will touch every corner of our industry." Thank you for listening.
X-ray scans and artificial intelligence have been used to reveal the contents of an ancient, badly burnt scroll from the Roman town of Herculaneum. The document was charred by the volcanic eruption of Mount Vesuvius nearly 2,000 years ago, meaning it would have been destroyed by any attempt to physically unroll it. Our science editor, Rebecca Morell, has more.
The ancient scroll held by the Bodleian Library at Oxford University was thought to be unreadable. It looks like a lump of charcoal, and any attempts to prise it open would see it crumble to dust. But now scientists have turned to technology. Powerful X-ray scans have enabled the team to locate every layer inside the scroll. There are about 10 metres of tightly rolled papyrus, and AI has been used to detect any ink. The result is a digitally unrolled scroll showing columns and rows of text, with some letters clearly visible. More work is to be done to make all the text legible, but Stephen Parsons from the Vesuvius Challenge says it looks extremely promising.
It's still pretty early with this scroll, but so far from what we've found, this might be the most exciting Herculaneum scroll we've ever scanned. We're confident we will be able to read pretty much the scroll in its entirety, is what it looks like we're going to be able to do. But by all appearances today, this will be the first scroll from Herculaneum that is virtually unwrapped in its entirety and made legible.
The team believes it will be a work of Greek Epicurean philosophy, which teaches that fulfilment can be found through the pleasure of simple everyday things.
Rebecca Morell. Now,